The house at the end of Blackwood Lane had been abandoned for decades, its windows gaping like empty eye sockets, its wooden frame sagging as though crushed under the weight of its own dark history. No one in the small town of Ravens Hollow dared go near it, not since the disappearances. They said the house was cursed, that it devoured those who stayed within its walls. Emily Carter didn't believe in curses. She was a journalist, a seeker of truth, and the house was just another story waiting to be debunked. When her editor assigned her the task of investigating the legend of the Blackwood house, she welcomed the challenge. Equipped with her notebook, a flashlight, and a camera, she stepped through the rusted gate, crunching over weeds and dead leaves as she approached the front door. The moment her hand touched the doorknob, a whisper slid through the air, soft, almost inviting. Emily froze, her heart skipping a beat. It must be the wind, she told herself. The house was old, it groaned and settled like all abandoned places did. She pushed the door open, and it creaked on its hinges, revealing a cavernous darkness inside. Dust swirled in the air as she stepped inside, illuminating tiny specks in the glow of her flashlight. The wooden floorboards moaned beneath her feet. The air smelled of decay and something else, something metallic. Blood. No, it was probably rust. She shook off the unease creeping up her spine and made her way to the staircase. According to town records, the house had once belonged to the Blackwood family, a husband, wife, and their young daughter, Eleanor. In 1932, all three vanished without a trace. Since then, several others had gone missing in the house. Locals whispered about the mirror in the attic, an antique piece rumored to be cursed. They said if you stood before it alone, you would see a shadow behind you, one that wasn't really there. Emily scoffed at the idea. She had spent her career exposing hoaxes, and this would be no different. She climbed the stairs, each step creaking beneath her weight. As she reached the landing, a chill crawled over her skin. The attic door stood at the end of the hall, slightly ajar. She swallowed hard, suddenly aware of how quiet the house had become. Taking a deep breath, she pushed the door open and stepped inside. The attic was cold and dust-laden, filled with forgotten relics. But her eyes were drawn immediately to the mirror in the corner. It was tall and ornate, its gilded frame dulled with age. The glass, however, was pristine, reflecting her image with eerie clarity. Emily approached the mirror and raised her camera, snapping a picture. She expected to see nothing unusual, but as she checked the screen, her breath hitched. There, in the reflection, a dark figure loomed behind her, a shadowy silhouette with hollow eyes. She spun around, her flashlight beam cutting through the gloom. Nothing. The attic was empty. Her pulse thundered in her ears. A trick of the light, she reasoned. Maybe dust particles had interfered with the camera's flash. Still, an unsettling thought wormed its way into her mind. What if the stories were true? She faced the mirror again, studying the reflection. This time, the figure was closer, just behind her shoulder. Her stomach clenched, cold sweat trickling down her spine. The whisper came again, softer now, curling around her like breath against her skin. Stay. Emily stumbled backward, her flashlight shaking in her grip. She had to leave now. But as she turned toward the door, the attic seemed to stretch, the walls bending unnaturally. The door was farther away than before, the space between her and escape yawning like a hungry mouth. Panic seized her. She ran, but the more she moved, the farther the door drifted away. Her breath came in ragged gasps, her heartbeat a frantic drum. Behind her, the whispering grew louder, overlapping voices murmuring secrets in a language she didn't understand. Then she felt it, a cold touch on her shoulder. She screamed and whirled around. The shadow was there, no longer confined to the mirror. It towered over her, shifting and writhing like living smoke, its hollow eyes swallowing the dim light. A long, jagged grin stretched across its featureless face. Emily scrambled back, but the shadow moved with her, its voice now a symphony of whispers. "Stay with us." Her vision blurred, darkness creeping in at the edges. She fought to keep her mind clear, but the whispers were inside her head now, unraveling her thoughts. She dropped to her knees, clutching her temples. "No," she gasped. "You're not real." The shadow loomed closer, enveloping her in suffocating darkness. Her screams faded, swallowed by the house, by the whispering shadows that had been waiting for her all along. When the townsfolk finally worked up the courage to enter the house weeks later, they found her camera lying on the attic floor, the last image burned into the screen, a picture of Emily, standing before the mirror, a shadow draped over her like a cloak, its grin wider than ever. Emily Carter was never seen again.